Holy moly, now that is some sweet, sweet nuking. What's going on, my fellow Tenno? Sevagoth is one of those warframes that you can build out in many different ways because he has a great kit that is extremely versatile. Now, you could do a melee focus build, or if you wanted to focus on playing a shadow, you could easily do so. Today, we're not doing any of those. Today, we become Sevagoth the Nuke God. With Sevagoth Prime quickly approaching, it feels like the right time to share this build with my fellow Tenno buddies. Now, when I say Nuke God, I mean room clearing, nuking all enemies with one button. Now, if that sounds like fun to you, then sit back and relax because we're about to get into what I believe is one of the strongest AoE room clearing builds in Warframe. And that's not all. I'm going to share with you what I believe is one of the best survivability tricks for any Warframe. Now, some veterans might be aware of this trick, but if you're fairly new to Warframe, you definitely don't want to miss this trick, and I'll talk about it later in the video. Now, before we get into it, please make sure you give the video a like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help with the channel and the YouTube algorithms, and it would be greatly appreciated. In order to nuke like a king, we need lots of power, so we are subsuming over Sevagoth's fourth ability. Let's jump in and take a quick look at Sevagoth's abilities and why we are subsuming his fourth ability. Alright, we are subsuming over Sevagoth's fourth ability, Exalted Shadow. We have absolutely no need for that ability. We are an AoE nuking machine, and that ability is more focused towards a melee type build. So what we want to do is we want to add more damage to our nuking ability, and that's exactly what Roar is going to help us do. It's going to amplify all of our damage, going to make our build that much stronger. Now, moving over to Gloom, this is a pretty awesome CC ability. So we're going to summon a radial pulse, and that's going to go out pretty far, about 26 meters or so around us, and it's going to put a slow on every single enemy. And that slow actually creeps up to, with our mods and everything else that we have attached to this build, around 90-95%. So they're barely going to move around you. It's going to be really easy to take enemies out. It's extremely helpful. And on top of that, it's a life-stealing ability. So it's helping keeping you alive. Now, here is where the build gets really interesting. This entire build revolves around Sow and Reap. So what it does, you actually plant a death seed in all enemies around you. It has a radius of 24 meters and a range of 26 meters. That is already massive in itself. So we're going to plant seeds in all enemies in that vicinity. As soon as those seeds are planted, we are going to release Reap, which is Sevagoth's shadow. Now, as soon as we release that shadow, everything it touches blows up. How are we doing that? Well, we have a big benefit here. We have two augment mods we're using. Dark Propagation with Sow, and as it reads, enemies killed while inflicted with a Sow spread its effect in a 15-meter radius. Every single enemy that blows up is going to spread the seed for 15 meters. That's how we're seeing these massive explosions in the gameplay in the background. Now, on top of that, we have another augment mod that we're using. It's called Shadow Haze. So we're going to increase our critical chance by 50% on enemies inflicted with Death Harvest. Now, a new shadow emerges from those enemies when they perish. So we have 3 shadows out at all times, constantly seeking out enemies that have Sow attached to them so they can blow them up and increase your explosion by an additional 15 meters. It's endless fun. All right, the sweet and juicy build time. Now we're going to get into the shards first. So this one is actually really important, the Topaz Archon Shard. We have this here strictly for survivability. Now, all enemies that are dying from us, they are blowing up from blast damage. And this is going to help keep our shields online. We don't have a lot of shields, we don't have a lot of health, and we are constantly blowing up things around us. But every once in a while, there's a straggler that just happens to hit you out of the blue, and you are most of the time invisible, but you're still going to take a hit here and there. And as soon as you do, if you hit 2-1 and you blow somebody up, you will instantly start regenerating your shields. So this keeps you from dying. It's a real good trick in terms of survivability. Now, this isn't the trick I was talking about earlier in the video, but this actually goes hand in hand with what I'm about to tell you a little bit later. Now, moving over to the second shard, we are adding 15% ability duration. We are adding 45% maximum energy on spawn. Makes the gameplay a little bit easier right from the beginning. And we're making the effectiveness on the energy orbs that much stronger. And on top of that, we're adding 15% more ability strength. All right, now here's how we have the mods set up. Now, please take a second, take a snapshot, pause the video, do whatever you need to do to have all these mods so you know exactly which ones to put in place. Now, starting off with the abilities, there's a reason we have all of these mods here, because when I make a build, I like to have my build strong in all parts of abilities. I don't like to feel weak in anything. I don't want to have to struggle for energy. I want to be able to spam the abilities and be as strong as possible. So when you take a look at duration, we have 134%, efficiency is above 100, range is off the charts, it's more than we need at 160, and our strength is 214, but it's actually, with Molt Augmented, it adds an additional 60%, which brings us up to 274 on the strength, which is more than enough. However, when you take a look at all these mods here, there is one flex mod. And if you feel you don't need Augur Message, then by all means, take that out and put Precision Intensify in there. And that will strengthen Roar even that much more, making your explosions even that much stronger. However, I do like Augur Message a lot because a lot of the energy that you spend on your abilities, and you are spamming those abilities, you're converting that back to your shields. So when we go back to that Archon Shard we talked about where it generates on the explosions, that combined with Augur Message really helps with our survivability a lot. But there you go, that is the mod section. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I have a survivability trick for all Warframes, and I am talking about the Shade Prime. Now, the Shade Prime has been long forgotten. It's been one of those companions that's down the middle of the road. Hardly anybody uses it because they're looking for companions that are adding priming abilities so they can do more damage. However, there have been some recent changes to the Shade Prime that, in my personal opinion, made this companion probably the most useful companion in the entire game. Now, the weapon it uses is irrelevant. You can use whatever weapon you want. This is the weapon I'm using. I have cold and gas set up here. Copy it if you'd like, or you can put any weapon there you want. We're just doing that to spread damage and help a little bit with CC. But here is what the big change is. So the Ghost mod. This thing used to be so irrelevant before. It would never work. And on top of it, they made some really cool changes to this. Now, you are cloaked as an owner as long as there is an enemy within 24 meters of you. Now, if there is not an enemy in those 24 meters, you will instantly become uncloaked. There'll be an 8-second timer. As soon as an enemy sees you on your camera, as soon as your camera is picking up an enemy in that vicinity, then you will recloak. But here's the key to the build. So it keeps you cloaked as long as you're using your abilities. You can use your abilities and stay cloaked the entire game as long as you have an enemy within 24 meters of you. Now, here's the caveat. If you use your weapon, you will instantly become uncloaked. Now, with this particular build, since we are nuking rooms, you are never going to use your weapon. You can use it if you want, but you're probably not even going to have a chance because you're literally nuking everything in front of you. But this has become an S-tier companion easily, in my opinion. It is so strong. Everybody forgot about this companion. Just try it. Put this build down. Trust me. Use your abilities. You're going to start blowing up everything on your screen. It's going to be a shit ton of fun. You're going to love it. And I hope you guys really do give this one a try. That is going to wrap up our look at the Sevagoth Nuke God build. With Sevagoth Prime coming out on August 21st, I wanted to share this with all my 10-0 friends. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, please consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss any future Warframe videos. And to everyone who is already a subscriber, I truly thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out.